Okay, so now I'm going to be installing MQTT and GivTCP onto my new Home Assistant install. If you haven't watched it already, there's an introductory setting up Home Assistant video. It gets it to this point and assumes you've already installed hacks and the file editor and the terminal, and you've set up some of your other devices if you need them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to settings and add-ons, and I'm going to find MQTT, from the add-on store, MQTT. Mosquito Broker is like an interface that allows applications outside Home Assistant to talk to it. And they can read data out of Home Assistant over this protocol, and they can also send their own data across. So I'll just hit the install button. And so these applications, they can actually create their own sensors and modify state in Home Assistants. You may give them permission. And so GivTCP, which runs the GivEnergy Inverters, uses this. There's some other inverter integrations that use MQTT as well. So let's have a look at the configuration. So it's got some network ports here, and it doesn't need to turn on require client certificate. And I think I don't think there's anything major that needs to be changed here at the moment. So there's some documentation here you can have a look at as well. You need to create a new user for MQTT as well. So let's see if it will start. See what the log's saying. So that seems to have started up. And then I'm going to go system, not system, sorry, I'm going to go into people and users, and I'm going to create a new user account for MQTT account. I'm going to be username MQTT, and I'm going to give it a simple password I can remember, and then I can only log in for Notable Network and Administrator, and I'm going to create that. So that's my MQTT account. So that's hopefully now up and running, and hopefully that was all I needed to do. It's still running. It's I normally don't use auto update. I tend to update the applications myself. It's on start on boot, I don't think there's any other configurations I need to change immediately. So now the next thing we need to do is add on GivTCP. So to find GivTCP, you can Google it, you can find the information, and there's some documentation here. And this is the repository we need to add as an add-on. So if I click on that, I'll copy it, and I can go to my settings, add-on store, repositories, and I can add GivTCP. And it'll have a little bit of a think, and it'll add it. And then it should appear here after a few. Sometimes you have to refresh the page. So there it goes. And I can do the installation. Now it's installed. I need to go to the configuration. I need to specify how many inverters I've got. I need to type in the IP address of my inverter and how many batteries I've got. Is it an all-in-one? No. Is it old firmware? Yes. My prefixes GivTCP. Obviously, if you've got more than one, you can give them different prefixes, but you don't need to change that. Here we need to type in the MQTT username and password and the actual host name itself. So you can normally use home assistant.local, as I've set this up as a separate instance. That's separate from my main Home Assistant at the moment. I'm going to actually type in the IP address directly. I'm going to give it a username and the password that I set up earlier. And the inverter, MQTT topic inverter 1, I'm going to give it as GivTCP. The log level you can change as to how much debug you get. Output registered raw is we want on. Self-run means it runs 15 seconds is a bit too fast for a lot of systems. You can cause a denial of service attack and increase that to at least 30 seconds. and maybe put the retries up to about 5. Allow Home Assistant auto discovery, yes. And the rest of this we can leave blank for now. We don't need to change any of these. The web dashboard I'm not going to use, so I can save all these settings. I just need to find my inverter IP address first. I'll just do that now. So there we go. It's my inverter IP address. I just copied it from my router, or you can copy it directly from the GivEnergy app if you want. So hopefully all those settings are now correct and I can save them. And now, if it's all working, I should be able to, I'll turn the watchdog on for the crashing because I want this to restart, and I'm going to start it and we'll see what happens. We can see there's a log going on here and it's scanning the network for devices. I don't think that's likely to work on my system, but I've put the IP address in, so it doesn't matter if that works or not. So looking at this log, it's failing. I can see why I typed in the wrong IP address. I typed in .2 and it's actually .20. So when I cut and paste that, I missed the last character. So I'm going to save that again and restart the add-on, and then we'll see whether it works this time. Just give that a few seconds. So that's looking a bit more healthy now. It says it got a couple of times out and then it seemed to connect, and now it says publishing discovery messages. So that means that the MQTT will start to actually see the sensors. So we'll see whether we can see anything coming up here or not in the log file. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. In the MQTT log file, you can see new connection from unknown and connection closed. So that's what you expect to happen. So that's all nice. It seems to be running. So let's see whether the sensors start to show up or not. So if we go to developer tool and states, we can have a scan down and see whether we're getting anything yet. That's all my energy rates. But if I can type in GivTCP, so this is the update version, so you can see it's actually running. I haven't got any sensors yet. I'm just going to wait a little bit. Okay, so we're missing the other part of this. We need to actually add on the device, the public broker for MQTT that actually allows it to create the sensors. So we go to set up an integration MQTT and Home Assistant broker via add-on, and you say yes. And then that created Home Assistant broker. And then look, you've got a GivTCP showing up here. So that should hopefully now allow some devices to come up. So we've got some status showing GivTCP is online and the last updated time there. So we're going to have to wait a bit longer for everything else to come up, I think. Let's have a look at this MQTT. So that's all show us YAML configured. And if I click the configure button here, we need this looking like it's set up, reconfigure. So then I'm going to configure this to be, because the MQTT add-on's running on the same machine, I'm going to put it here, my IP address, but it could have been Home Assistant.local. I'm going to use the same username and password. And I don't think any of these advanced options I need to change. And success saved. Oops. So now if I go back to my developers tools, I can now, when I filter for GivTCP, I can see all the controls for my inverter have appeared. So that's looking really good. And you can set up your own dashboard here. So let's see if I want to find out a few things on the on the dashboard. So you can have lists of entities, you can have gauges. So gauge is quite nice, for example, if I wanted to put my current charge amount for my battery. So GivTCP SOC, for example, is the state of charge of my home battery. So I've got a nice little gauge for that. I might have some entity cards here for, say, GivTCP, and maybe I'm going to have the charge, some of the charging options. For example, I could have the amount of AC charge. I could have a charge enable. Which is that's turning on whether time charging is on or not. And then if I search for, say, slot 1, for example, I can have charge start time and charge end time, and you can customize it and put whatever you like on there. So that's MQTT and GivTCP up and running. Obviously, for different inverters, you've got different add-ins, and I'll do it in different ways, but hopefully that's useful for setting up the GivEnergy one. Thanks,